On tonight's episode of Sanity Lounge, the boys welcome Baltimore's own Justin Schlegel into the studio. By day, Justin's job is one of the three hosts of the greatest morning show in the nation, JSS, Justin, Scott, and Spiegel, on Baltimore's legendary 98 Rock. By night, Justin is a headlining stand-up comedian. He's also one of the hosts of the DLP Agenda podcast. He's a key member of the DLP Agenda's traveling murder mystery comedy show that is literally gigged in different continents. He's an MMA announcer at the ever-growing Shogun Fights held in Baltimore yearly, and he's an ordained minister for all those who need. Justin Schlegel is Baltimore to the core, and it was an honor to have him in the lounge. Please enjoy.
All right, welcome Baltimore to another episode of Sanity Lounge.
An exciting episode.
Are honored to have a very special guest here, Justin Schlegel. Many of you know him from 98 Rock, DLP Agenda, comedian. Welcome.
This is when the world falls, when society crumbles. I'm not going to say you guys are going to have enough stuff to like sustain yourself here in regards to food and water.
Yeah.
But for the last 96 hours before you eat each other, you're going to have a blast.
Right,
Yeah.
we're going to have a great time.
Have you ever truly described the surroundings for those who just listen to the audio version of what this fortress is like?
We have tried. Yes, we've tried.
tried.
We kind of just leave it up to when we just say, "Hey, here's the address.
Right.
We'll be out front."
Yeah.
And everybody shows up.
But once they
Scared,
come inside,
nervous, and then they come inside and don't want to leave.
outside is the hills have eyes. No. Someone's going to do a sex to you and then eat the back of your skull.
Hey, tell the people that Justin actually took a wrong turn.
I turned one house too late, and I'm like, okay, there's a very nice house. Why would it be there? Why would I turn into this nice house? Let's head down to the Sawyer compound, which is on this bumpy road, 1,000 signs. It's always one of those houses, too, that you look at, and it's like, no trespassing, no trespassing, and no trespassing. And it's like, homie, I don't want any of your stuff.
Right.
I'm looking at what you got.
I'm trying to get out.
No, I don't want your
Right.
gravel pile. I don't want what's left of that dog.
Right.
There's most of a dog tied to most of a tree, and there was just this lady standing on the porch with a stick, just smacking the ground like the earth had misbehaved. And by the way, you could tell that I panicked because I'm a texter.
Right.
I'm a texter. I'm a DMer.
Right.
I don't call my dad.
Right.
I called you.
Right, all of a sudden the phone rang.
I'm like, you need to help me because
Like, oh shit! Normally we're standing outside.
someone.
It's funny. You know what this area is called? Soldier's Delight.
Oh, well, someone's about to garrison my asshole. All right. There's about to be a couple of soldiers that ignore one of those First Amendments and be like, we're taking over your butt home and staying
Yeah.
here for the night. Because, General Sodomy up the street wanted to win the Battle of Justin badly.
That's funny.
Didn't care for it. But this is beautiful.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah.
Any trouble with them ever? Any?
I don't know.
Actually,
That
no,
would-
they're
that would-
friends.
yeah.
Will said that they're very cool people. They're good friends. I
You
think
leave
they
them alone,
Yeah.
they'll leave you alone.
Correct.
Every
Yeah.
now and then we just pour meat over the fence. We'll just go and
I've
leave.
I've never even seen them.
Yeah.
But I know the area.
Over the years, Will said that I'm pretty sure they're cool. You know, everybody's got a cool relationship. But I hear you, and I usually preempt, like if I'm on the text thread with the guest coming in, I usually preempt it with a, look, you're going to think this is a setup.
Right.
And,
Oh, yeah.
You know, but in reality, it's an incredible studio. Just relax, and we should be out front.
Yeah.
And just for whatever reason, we weren't out front
No, we
this
weren't.
time. of all
Usually
the
we are,
times.
yeah.
No, and there was someone out front. It just wasn't you. It was someone that was spanking Gaia with a branch,
Right.
going, "How dare you betray me?"
Nah, this is awesome.
Well, look, so from my angle, it is a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
You know, I have been a longtime fan of yours specifically, 98 Rock in general, but yours specifically for a minute now. And let me give you a smidge of our history.
Okay, please.
I recall the early days, Mickey and Amelia, and Mickey kind of, for lack of a better term, bringing you into the fold, if you will, a little bit with the radio station, it seemed, anyway. And that's where I first started listening to you. And you won me right off the bat, and this is kind of a strange thing to start with, but you know, I had a best friend of mine take his life.
Yeah.
And over the time, I lost my uncle to suicide, a cousin of mine to suicide, and I had recently had a best friend, my guitar player, who had taken his life. And on the radio, Mickey breached that topic with you, and I was like I was so like, because I was like, at first I was like, that's not okay. Is he okay with this?
Yeah.
And you seemed like you were okay with it.
Yeah.
But that was the first thing where I was like, I love this guy, and ever since then I've been following your career, and it's a real honor to meet you.
Yeah.
Now, you got a good memory. Do you remember what happened at the end of that segment? It's so funny you bring this up. That moment.
Do
you know that moment led to JSS?
That's why Mickey. No,
something happened at the end of that segment.
Well, let me ask you. It wasn't the Eliza Schlesinger.
It was not that. No, that happened during JSS.
Okay,
but that was Mickey Emilian and Spiegel.
Right.
When Scott Reardon was the producer.
Right.
And Scott Reardon, who's just a mad scientist mastermind, and trained to Mike Anderson, who's brilliant, and Scott also trained Joe Stamboni, our current producer. He had this moment where, we're talking about something heavy. It's suicide. And I'm talking about my mom, and we're discussing it. And by the way, Mickey didn't blindside me with that. It's as much as JSS and Mickey Emilian and KML before that appear to be chaotic, it's all road mapped chaos.
Yep.
So Scott's kind of the mastermind behind the scene. Mickey and I are walking a pretty heavy road. That's a heavy topic.
Absolutely.
Scott reaches over, and you just see him fidgeting around on the computer a little bit. And I'm telling the story like the day of it all happened. And right as I reach the crescendo, he fires off yakety sax and hits this hilarious music bed, shattering the sadness and the depression. And in the moment, I get like shockingly furious. Wow. But within 10 seconds, I start laughing at the absurdity. And I start saying things comedically, like about him. Like I think he had a child, or was he planning to have a child?
Yeah, maybe.
And I said something like, "I hope your baby's born and it's just an eyeball and it's blind," and like horrible stuff. But him and I, in that moment, Scott and I, we connected quietly over him being able to make comedy in a moment that could not have been less funny. But he had a job to do also, and that was we're a comedy show with some moments of seriousness, but he was like, let me go ahead and let me roll a white phosphorus grenade into this room.
Oh my God.
Blow it up. And me, for a second, being like, this motherfucker. And then being like, wait. That's actually brilliant what he did, because he was able to bookend it. How do you end a segment like that?
Sure.
Like, how do you end something that's so dark and so morose and so depressing?
Right.
And while identifiable, like especially in your case, and that's heavy to hear, you're able to, at the very last second, pull the nose up on this plane with a hilarious moment where he and I start roasting each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we go off air and we hug and we're high-fiving. And that's when Scott and I first connected. And the boss at the time, Dave Hill, heard that.
Right.
And I truly believe it planted the seed in his head that day. Like down the line, if Justin is to be added to this show or eventually develop their own one,
Sure.
that was kind of Scott and I's beginning.
Right.
Because we
wonderful.
knew each other gently as acquaintances and were very cordial.
Right.
I mean, now one of my best friends. And for him to trust that moment in his own instincts, to be like, I'm going to fuck this guy up. Right. I'm going to, in the middle of him pouring his heart out, I'm going to take his legs out from under him. In hindsight, it was brilliant.
Yeah, because it made it even more authentic, because you had a genuine visceral reaction, but then you realized you had to kind of rein it a little bit, and then you started second guessing yourself, and you're like, God damn, that
within
was
moments,
yeah.
I was like, oh no, this is
good radio.
The best thing you could have done, because you already took a serious subject, but you do have to find your way back to shore, because it is a comedy program.
Right,
okay, that's the slogan: comedy, rock, Ravens, Orioles. And he got us back.
Yeah.
And that was Scott's ability as a producer, as an air talent, as a friend, to know this in the moment.
Right.
It's going to be shocking for a second.
Yeah.
God, so funny you bring that up. I've tried to find that segment.
Really?
It's somewhere in the archives. We've gone through so many different software types to record and to save things and archive things, and stuff back then was actually on physical media, analog tape you'd record to. Now it's all digital. It would be no problem. But that might have been like 2006. It might have been 18 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was, a long time
time ago.
I just gotten back from Florida.
Yeah.
But that helped endear me to them. Scott to me, connected us. And then down the line, when it was time for Mickey and Amelia to move on, that was one of those moments like you two had a great moment. And Spiegel's a national treasure.
Right.
So let's just glom these things together.
Sure. You had to, Spiegel had to be okay with it.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Luckily, Spiegs and I got along well as is.
Right.
So, but that's funny. That's an interesting
that's
memory.
awesome. And just hovering on that, like, I just want to kind of back up and thank you guys again for having my wife Amanda on.
She was great, man.
To talk about that. We did the episode here back in August for September, and she just wanted to come in and maybe just put the message out there for a half an hour. We ended up talking our episodes 2.5 hours. My grandfather took his own life in 2006, so it's just a topic that hits close to home. And again, like it meant a lot to her to be on and talk about it and just have a conversation. And one of our good friends like texted me that day, and she's like, you guys likely saved lives that day, and it just really hit me hard because I didn't really think about it that way. That just your guys' listeners, the people in Stamboni told us that people were messaging in. They're like, I've been there. Like, this is great. Thanks for doing this. This
your
is
wife
awesome.
is so charismatic that it can be a subject that's just so dour and so heavy, and it's this big anvil of emotion in your lap, but. And if you treat it like that, it can be.
Absolutely.
But your wife was hopeful. There was chances too, because
and even our episode, like we talked about a taboo topic for 2.5 hours, but we kept it us. We kept it funny and
and
open and lighthearted, and got the message across that we tried to do.
And with hopeful messages and stuff like that, like it's a good episode, and Amanda brightens up any room she's in.
She is.
Really,
She
shocking.
No, she crushed it that morning. It was great. The reaction was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great morning.
Yeah.
Right? So let's go back to Scott real quick to just hover on that. I have my mental history with Scott too, because I remember he was the producer of Mickey and Amelia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Mickey being late and Scott being like it really becoming a problem, and Scott yelling from the other room stuff. Like you could just hear him. I don't know what that means, but like if you're listening, you hear him going and stuff like that. And he eventually would come in and just do the show because Mickey wouldn't show up.
Right.
And eventually, I'm like, this fucking guy ought to be the host. And then all of a sudden, Flapjack and the Pickle, baby.
You want some more? You want some history about Flapjack and the Pickle?
Tell Wode. I don't know.
Are you familiar with Flapjack and the Pickle?
I'm not.
Okay, so let me give you a
little
I'll give you
history.
some 98 Rock history a little bit. So when you had originally the legends Kirk, Mark, and Lopez.
Yes.
And Kirk, Mark, and Lopez at the same time, you had Lopez passes, Spiegel takes over.
Yes.
And it becomes
I remember
KMS.
all that, yep.
Well, in the afternoon, you had Mickey and Amelia. It was Mickey and Jen, then Mickey and Amelia. And for a while, I think they might have even been in the evenings, and they decided to put them up against Don and Mike, legendary show, who were over on 105.7. It was Free FM at the time.
Right.
Do you know why they called it Free FM?
No.
They called it Free FM because it was the dawn of satellite, which was pay for.
Oh, wow.
Infinity CBS, now whatever the fuck company owns them.
Right.
It was like, it's free.
They were trying to market it.
They're trying to be, hey, we're free.
Right.
Anyways, so they put them up against Don and Mike in the Baltimore market, and they kick ass. So when it comes time for them, Kirk and Mark, to be wooed over to another station, 105.7, where Don and Mike were, they just took a show that was already kicking ass, Mickey and Amelia, and moved them to the mornings, and they needed a new producer. And I think Scott had already been working in afternoons, but he just went down there. Spiegel stays. He doesn't go over there. Best decision he ever made, because the Kirk and Mark experiment, unfortunately, it didn't. It just... And it wasn't their fault. Trust me, I got some behind-the-scenes stuff I could tell you about that off mic about how those two got boned by that company.
I'm sure.
Wow.
Shocker, they flip formats every one goddamn year.
Right.
But Kirk and Mark leave. Mickey and Amelia go there. And then we hang out for a little while. As a comic, I show up, I do the entire thing. And then Mick decides to retire. Sarah Fleischer decides to retire.
Right, the 1-2 punch.
Yeah, Amelia goes to afternoons where I was.
Because she wanted that too, right? She wasn't a morning girl, from what I remember.
She'd had her fill of mornings,
Right.
I'll say. Everybody wants mornings, but after you do mornings for a while, it's kind of miserable.
Sure.
I've been waking up early for 11, 12 years. You never get used to it. You just accept it. But it
Yeah.
sucks. Every day it sucks.
Sure. Right.
I mean, once you're up and you're okay.
Yeah.
But she goes to afternoons, and I go down to mornings. Then eventually Sarah Fleischer retires middays. Amelia goes to middays. They bring back Kirk. The issue, what was strange with us and Scott becoming on air, let me get all the way back to your question, was that Mickey and Amelia had like years together in afternoons, and they just woke up early. They told us on a Friday, you guys are the morning show on Monday. So we had 48 hours to get together. I remember the boss coming in and going, hey, you're going to wake up early on Monday. Mickey and Amelia had already since left the air. They were just, I think, playing best of. I remember it was around July 4th. So you're going to hang out with Scott, and you're going to hang out with Spiegel, and Mike's going to be your producer. Spend some time together this weekend because you're going to be the new show on Monday. And we're like, fuck.
And it was like a radio bit. Like there was even an announcement like Mickey and Amelia's done. There's a new program coming.
Mornings are broken.
Monday morning.
And they're going to fix it.
Right.
So I had the idea. I said, I was worried that Baltimore is a city of familiarity. They don't like change. I like to joke that on December 31st every year, the clock strikes midnight and it turns into January 1st, 1988. Every night. It just, they don't, people like what they like.
Yeah.
Okay. Hammerjacks they won't stop shutting up about.
Right.
Colts they won't stop shutting up about.
Right.
It's just a thing. So they don't like change. And it's a rough change. And one day when I trick Spiegel into thinking I'm taking him to the 7 Mile Jewish Market and I get him over here, I will have him tell you the story about his first year or so taking over for Lopez. And the brutality he was put through by people. Not because of who he was, just because of who he wasn't.
Right.
The unfairness of he was just
the shadow of Lopez.
It just wasn't the guy he knew. And Josh Spiegel famously says, I don't fill shoes, I bring my own. And he did a fine job, but people are like, no, you're just not the other guy. And he had to fight for years. So knowing what I went through with a little bit, because I took over for Stash. Stash left the station. I took over for him, and people for like 4 or 5 months like, fuck you.
Right.
Who are you?
Yeah.
We don't know you. We don't like you.
Right.
You're the guy in the morning. It's fun for a day here and there, but I don't need to listen to you on my work way home. And eventually I steered them to me.
Right.
So I said, how about this? What if we do what less reputable comedians do? And if you get a headliner, I know I'm bouncing around, but it'll make sense.
No, we got all the time.
You get a headliner that is a good headliner, a very good headliner.
Yep.
Take a Stavros Halkias. Well, he'll have a Tommy Sambazo open for him because he knows I want the whole show to be good. I know I want my opener to be just a monster like a Tommy Sambazo. And then I will come on and I am capable of kicking ass, so you're going to get a great show. A less reputable comedian will go in their head, I'm dog shit. I'm telling Clinton jokes in the 2000s. I'm doing hacky airline food material. I'm going to get a shit comic, and they're going to bomb for 20 minutes. So anything after them is going to be
gold.
Sweet mana. It's going to be gold. I'm going to feed them cat food for 20 minutes. So when I feed them a steakum afterwards, they're going to think it's filet mignon.
Brilliant.
Kind of brilliant, kind of shitty, kind of shit.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange way to go about it. In comedy, I don't agree with it, but I'm going to talk out each side of my mouth. I'm like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to come up with a fake show. It's called Flapjack and the Pickle. And it's these two assholes from, I think it was Cleveland.
It was Cleveland. Or it was some Midwest.
Well, it was an AFC North Division city.
Okay.
That we were going to be these two pieces of shit, hack, never made it, market 240 comedians, some guy named Flapjack, another guy named Pickle.
You don't really know the city of Baltimore.
No idea.
Right.
They have no idea. I watched The Wire. They do voices like that.
Yep.
They sound like your hacky, shitty radio DJs. They were going to do, like, we don't like using prep services in radio where it's every morning you log on, 10 things never to say to your wife on Valentine's Day.
Right.
And then if you use it, everybody else in the market's using it. You look like a joke. So we're going to do a whole show of hack prep bits. We're going to do 10 fun facts about Cleveland. We're going to talk about the Browns' chances that year.
This is on 98 Rock in the morning.
No, I
We recorded a 4-hour program.
Oh my God, dude.
With our friend Steve Huber, who was the APD at the time. Now he's doing mornings at the Bay. And another guy named John Lauer, who's our digital services director, and he does promotions. He's brilliant. And we had him go in and voice the thing. And we're like, just dick cheese it up for 4 hours. We're going to play the worst music you've ever heard. We're going to play. And what we're hoping is that they listen to this and they lose it. That listeners are like, what the fuck is this? You went from Mickey, Amelia, and Spiegel to Flapjack and the Pickle syndicated from Cleveland who are playing nothing but like Bonnie Raitt and Stryper.
Right.
Doing like, hey, what's your top 10 soups? Coming up, chicken and stars. We thought it was going to last for 2 hours.
Right.
And then we had this production ready to go right around 8. So we planned 2 hours worth of a show. We recorded a whole fake 4 hours, but we planned to play it for 2. And then we had this production, then we had 2 hours ready to go. 15 minutes in.
Yeah, baby.
The phones are lighting up.
Exploding.
People are showing up to the station. People are calling the general manager. People are calling the television station. We're getting absolutely United States Air Force fucking carpet bombed.
This is on day one.
Day one.
15 minutes in.
One. We're thinking this joke's going to go on for 2 hours.
Right.
Management just Usain Bolts down the hallway. Like, we have to pull this now.
Yeah, you're losing sponsors, baby.
People are like, what are we advertising on? They're wanting to pull. And we've tried to make as many people quietly in the know, like, hey, we're just going to do this for like 2 hours.
It's
and
a
then
joke.
At 8 o'clock, ha-ha, psych, it's the Spiegel you love. Reardon's on the air full time. You remember Mike, and I'm the guy that fills in that you seem to have a laugh at. Welcome or the new morning show. So 20 minutes in, we've got to pull the shoot. We got to yank the e-brake. The issue being, we'd only planned 2 hours of a show. We plan on starting at 8.
Right.
We start at 6:20. We're
Right.
like,
So now first day you've got to improvise.
First day, we've got to bullshit for an hour and a half.
Unbelievable.
Where we're like, so we just start to do the show we'd already planned, and then as we went through the hour and a half and we'd go to a song, we're like, what the fuck do we do at 8 o'clock?
Right.
What do we do? And we came up with something. We figured it out. But
well,
we
let me
thought
give
it would
you
be a
a
funny joke, ended up actually kind of biting us in the ass.
Well, let me give you a little
amazing.
bit of, from my end, okay? I work for Baltimore County, okay?
Yeah.
And shout out Inwood Shop, Damon, Allen, JP.
What'd you say that is?
Inwood Shop.
I thought you said the N-word shop.
Oh,
And
for
I'm like,
gosh
guess
sake.
who's not shopping there, brother.
I said shout out
Damn. All right. For all your racial needs.
Listen, you said I gotta go.
Building.
Welcome to the Slur Depot.
So dig this. Inwood Shop. INWOOD.
Right.
One
Shop.
word, starts
Shout
with
out
I.
Inwood Shop. Yes,
Inwood.
sir. Good catch, though. Fact is, that morning I'm listening, and it's a bunch of county boys, good old boys, who for a long time have been rocking 98 Rock.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy that's like, it's going to be great. I was hoping it was going to be you and Scott. Okay, I figured Spiegel would be there because he's a national treasure. He's not going anywhere. But I was hoping, everybody was hoping. All of a sudden, this flapjack and the pickle shit start. I'm going, this is brilliant. This is a bit. Okay, now Eric Rehnquist, all these guys are with me, and we're talking about burly redneck dudes that don't quite get
They
comedy.
ain't picking up on the bit yet.
Right, they don't get it, you know, and I'm going, it's got to be a bit, and they're going, I'm going to give you 5 minutes of keeping this on,
Or I'm going to crash this
right, or I'm going to break it. I'm going to break the radio over your head,
hammer
right?
to the boombox.
And I'm going, no, it's a Brit. They're brilliant, you know. 10 minutes go by. You go into Mills Sports or something. Like, you guys had it. Like,
we had a live segment with Mills that did sports.
Right.
Yeah.
Mills is going, so you guys, you think you can come into Baltimore, huh? Cleveland? What's up? Like, you know, like he was doing the Millsy.
Now,
Like,
Baltimore, you guys are famous for shrimp, right?
I mean, it was
shrimp.
unbelievable, dude. And people are getting pissed at me because I'm going, it's got to be a bit.
Yeah.
It's got to be a bit. And man, thank Christ, all of a sudden after one of the segments, it cuts to them going, and I'm like, oh my God, but it was like mutiny.
Right.
I was worried for you guys.
We
Like,
forgot to tell certain people at the station, too, that thought that they're like AEs, account executive salespeople that need to sell a product. They sell Amelia. They sell Kirk and Marianne, JSS. That we didn't let everybody in that we should have. And there's account executives that are just getting ready to dial 988 because they're like, this is what I got to sell.
Right.
I got a 6-figure client on the hook for a 3-year deal. And I told him, trust us, there's going to be some great new programming. And it's the guy being like, Skyline Chili. What's the deal with the beans? It's we basically had like imagine Harry Carey with a learning disability and just two of them. The spaghetti's overdone. and going, oh shit, I'm losing clients, and then thank God it worked out.
Yeah.
Flapjack.
So that was only 15 minutes?
We have
the whole thing?
We've never released the full
I got to
2
tell you,
hours.
it felt like, I thought you guys did it for 45 minutes.
Right.
Oh, it went on for 15, 20.
Yeah.
I remember because I remember looking at the clock at 6:22 and being like, fuck.
Oh, yeah. The way you talked about it, I thought it was a thing for a while.
Like I said, I felt like it went through sports, which was a half
did.
hour usually. But again, it was older. Maybe it wasn't the same structure.
We
but
even had a fake clock. We had the structure of the show set up completely different because at the top of the hour, we always do Josh Spiegel's news.
Right.
Bottom of the hour, we get started with whoever's sports.
Right.
It was Val, then Bobby, it was Keith, then Bobby, then Val. But we changed the clock too. To throw everybody. I mean, we played music that we don't play.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we played Stripers to Hell with the Devil or something. We played music that people are like, I am going to go home and domestic violence a mirror.
That's
dude.
amazing.
I'm going to eat a fucking M80 and blow my lips clean off.
Right.
If I can find a copy, I will send you guys a snippet.
It was a
2 minutes takes a half hour.
citywide troll.
Yeah.
Like
It
before
was.
trolls
Oh,
were
yeah.
trolls.
And
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like
that's my fault. That
Yeah.
was
And it
my
worked.
idea. And
was incredible.
it worked, but not how we thought.
Right.
It did give us thank God it's not them.
Right.
But we had to do damage control for about
Yeah.
2 days after they heard that this flapjack and the pickle thing, and then that led to us making sure, like, hey, every break has to be planned. There's no open breaks on our
Right.
show.
I would say you guys got a memo the next day. They're like, okay, corporate was like, listen.
Hey,
no
Dickweed,
more.
you took a legendary station that's had some of the greatest radio DJs in the history of the medium on, and you decided to turn this into a fucking Rick roll. You just got the job. Imagine day
amazing.
one of your gig, and you do the whole ball sack, I sat in gum bit,
Yeah, man.
and you pull your nuts out in front of the CEO and be like, psych, it's the prosthetic testicle. Like, you clearly were born 2 months early. What the hell is the matter with you? So that was
It was an
we
amazing-
don't stunt anymore.
Right.
We try not to do. So we've had some, but that was one that we almost tripped out of the gate.
That's like a legendary radio story because, like I said, it's
Yeah.
trolling before trolling
Yeah.
was real.
We've never
100%.
released the full 2 hours.
Right.
It's sitting there in the archives somewhere, buried.
Yeah,
in a
it'll be
server.
mutiny. I mean, it's like it's
Maybe we'll release it one day behind a paywall and we'll
Right.
put the money towards us.
Right.
But yeah, it's a hard listen. And God bless Steve Huber and John Lauer, because those two guys were the ones that sold it.
well, that's what
That's
I'm saying. It's
amazing.
like for a
That's awesome.
corporation that big to, and I mean, not allow it isn't the right word because it was just they didn't really know.
Oh, it was
but,
allow it.
But you know, it's like that's
Yeah.
a far. Nowadays, nobody would ever.
Oh,
let you
iHeart
get
ain't
away
doing
with
that.
Hell
Odyssey ain't doing that.
Hell
No,
no.
that's a special thing about the company I work for, Hearst. Hearst is primarily a television company. You know,
Right.
they have 100+ television stations and
Right.
2 radio stations.
Oh, really?
BAL and 98 Rock. That's it. In the corner. We are the Milton from The Office.
Right.
They forgot we worked there.
My swing line stapler.
Someone
right.
someday is going to be at the Hearst corporate tower and be like, we've got fucking radio stations? For how long? No, they love us, actually, as a matter of fact. Corporate just came down and did a big town hall there. But they made it real clear, and this leads back to the flapjack and the pickle thing, is that they don't corporate overlord. They sort of trust each general manager at the time. And it was the time a guy named Ed Kiernan. And we had to pitch him the idea. And he was like, yeah, go ahead. But he was also the guy that came running and going, pull it right now.
Yeah.
So he trusted it, but he also killed it, as
That's
he should have.
awesome.
So no, they're pretty great about trusting us.
That's
That's
wonderful.
awesome.
dude.
So with you, how long have you been in radio?
I got into radio. I went to a school back in 2000, 2001 for it. It's now defunct, the Broadcasting Institute of Maryland. It was in a row home in Parkville.
Right.
Yeah, shitbox of an institution.
Yeah.
With some actual great people that worked there, but you stepped into it. And I mean, as lovely as this home is, it's the size of the Harvard campus compared to this row home that it was in. They wouldn't know what to do with this production studio here at the Sanity Lounge compared to this radio broadcasting school.
Right.
The school, it was a funeral home that they converted
Wow.
into a broadcasting school. And the basement production editing education suite was where the crematorium oven once was.
Wow.
So you want to talk occasionally hearing a voice from the great beyond in your commercial that you're editing? Like, that's a phantom.
Right.
Yeah, bad energy in there.
Right, that had to be good chi.
I feel like there's got to be an odd scent every now and then.
Right.
The smell of fricasseed bone.
The mortar.
Yeah, some kid that was born in the 1984 and died in 1984 because mom couldn't stop fucking drinking during all 3 trimesters, and they just cooked his ass in that thing. I'm feeling his little toddler spirit float through me. Sucked. But I got my first job at WYCR WHVR in Hanover, PA, and that was in 2001. So we're probably coming up 2026 will be 25 years. So I'm fast approaching 25 years.
And did comedy all kind of blend from that, or were you a comedian first?
No, I was. It's a misconception, and one that I understand was that I was a comedian that became a DJ or a broadcaster. I was actually a broadcaster for 4 or 5 years before I did stand up.
Yep.
And the story behind that is I worked for one of the other guys up the street, which again kept flipping formats.
Right.
And I was the overnight board op guy, weekend guy. 105.7, X105.7, B102.7, V107, wrote comedy for Rouse & Company for QSR, and every year they would flip format. They just kept flipping. They flip ownership. It went from Infinity to CBS to Entercom to Audacity, and they finally settled on the format now, The Fan, which is stuck.
Right.
And I was the overnight guy, so every single time they'd blow the format out, they'd blow out all the jocks, and you keep 3 board ops. And you work 3 8-hour shifts just around the clock until they figure out what the new format's going to be. So I would do the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift, and then someone would take over from there, and they would work the next 8, and then the next 8, and then I would come back in, and we just did that and played whatever until we figured out. And each time I would endear myself to a new staff. So I was friends with the guys at B102.7 and met all of them. And they're like, we're going to move on. Or V103. Then they became B102.7. Then B102.7 became X1057 Blazing Jams, a hip hop station.
Nice. Your bread and butter, baby.
Yeah. So then they go from there and they try and take on 98 Rock. And there was a 105.7 The X style show in town for 6 months. I don't know what CBS's problem was or Infinity, but man, they love to do that first day in prison, hit the biggest guy in the face in the fucking yard routine.
Right.
We're go in there and fight the biggest guy. So they went to try and take on 92Q, failed. They went to try and take on 98 Rock, failed. And then there really wasn't much in the way of a sports thing in town, maybe outside of an ESPN 1300. So on the 5th format flip, and me having to reintroduce myself for a year and slowly work my way up, and I'm becoming friends. Psych, you're back down to the bottom every time. On the final flip, which was to talk, I lose it. I'm like, fuck this. I can't do it. I go to Fraser's on the Avenue, and they had a karaoke night, and I was drinking my drink of choice, a whiskey sour. I'm a fancy bitch. And my friend Gordon Eckler was the bartender. Shout out Gordon. And he goes, they're doing karaoke. And I'm like, I'm going to fucking get up there. And I'm not singing, but I'm going to get up there.
Yeah.
And I went up and I took the mic and just started to fucking bitch about fuck 105.7. Fuck the PD. Bill Pasha can eat my ass. Bill Pasha can suck it from the front to the back. Okay. I want to turn him into a human bidet. I want to fill his stomach with liquid and have a little person stomp on it while he pukes the same liquid into my asshole. Just lost it. And the guy that ran it, Diamond Dan's karaoke, snatched the mic out of my hand and pulled me away. He's like, you little motherfucker.
You'll never work in this town again.
Don't you ruin the sanctity of my karaoke night. This is to be respected. We have the same 6 people getting ready to sing the same 6 songs. Right. Whatever. He goes, you want to do that comedy bullshit? They do that on Sunday. Not here. Not here. I'm like, maybe I will come back.
He said, I'll be there on Sunday.
I'll be there, motherfucker. And I came back. And I did it again on their comedy night. And I got a couple chuckles. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I went and I did it on another one. I only went there 2 weeks in a row. And then I started seeing some really good actual local comedians. This is so embarrassing. I don't think even Tommy Simbazo or Eric Woodworth or any of my DLP buddies know this. They're going to hear it and give me unrelenting shit. On my third time up. Oh, this might be a fucking Sandy Lounge exclusive.
Nice.
I might have shoved this down into the recesses.
Yeah, that's what we do. We like to bring things up in the psyche.
Gape my memories.
Right.
Okay?
Yes. That's what we do.
Goat see my soul. You take one cheek, you take the other.
I love it.
I started seeing comedians go up there. There's a guy named Frank Hong, excellent. Jim Meyer, excellent. Brian Connor, excellent. And some other names that escape me. But I started watching some stand-up to almost study a little bit. And I noticed that some of them, had a little bit of a swagger or maybe had a prop or a look. My third time up, I went up in a suit. And I bought cigarettes. And I acted like I smoked like Dennis Leary.
Nice.
And I was pretending to smoke like a prop. And I also had just gotten done watching Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah.
And Jim Gaffigan does a little bit of break the fourth wall back in the day where he would say something into the mic. That joke got dark.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, that joke upset them. Oh, this is an evil path we're walking. I fucking just stole that and just would tell some full-on wannabe Dennis Leary cigarette rant. I don't smoke.
Right.
And at the end of it, like, oh, I think they hated that joke about cigarette. And people are like, what the fuck are you doing? What in the ever-loving... We've seen you the past 2 weeks. It's the same bunch of assholes that show up. An open mic, like Wits End at Magooby's, a great one.
Uh-huh.
It's got kind of the same cast of characters.
Sure.
Maybe one come, one goes. You get somebody that shows up that their friends dared them to do it, and then bombs, and you never see them again.
Right.
I'd been there for a couple of weeks, and they're like, that's the guy that hates radio. And
doesn't smoke. And doesn't dress in suits.
And doesn't own a suit. He just wears like Ultimate Warrior t-shirts and like cargo pants and skate shoes and has a scruffy goatee. Why did he shave? And he's up there like Andrew Dice Clay in a cigarette.
And acting like Leary.
It was dog shit.
That's awesome.
And Jim Meyer, who's a comedian, kind of like pulled me aside. He's like, hey, man, you're funny. That wasn't at all. What the shit was that?
Good for him.
He honestly was very kind in the realization of like, were you doing a character just now? Because A, it fucking bombed badly.
Yeah, lose it.
Lose that now. Do what you did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then, it just sort of spiraled from there. I met comics, and they told me about a second open mic that I went to. I'm like, there's more of these? Mm-hmm. And then I went to one on Tuesday nights at Jillian's, which was now where Dave & Buster's in Hanover, Maryland, at the mall there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Arundel Mills Mall. Yep. And then Wednesday, Wiseacres in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. And then they did an open mic at the Bowman, Parkville, which they did one there on Thursdays. And then you could kind of do 1, 2, 3, 4 nights a week. And then eventually someone's like, we got a paid show here this weekend. We need a host. Would you like to be it? Mm-hmm. And then a year or two in, I do a 5-minute paid set, and then it just spirals from there and then never stopped.
Who was what are your comedy influences growing up? If you had like who were your top 3?
Can I tell you one that's been fucking forgotten to time, and it pisses me off because I feel like an entire generation just moved on from him, probably because of Jim Carrey, who deserves all the adoration and legendary status. Mm-hmm. Jim Varney.
Oh, Jim Varney. Wow. Yeah.
Dude, Ernest.
Dude, he was a funny dude.
Ernest
other than the Ernest. Like he was a funny
guy,
yes.
And my dad would rent the tapes, and it'd be Ernest goes to camp, Ernest goes to school, Ernest goes to space, and he had like 15 characters that he did, and he had the malleable face before Jim Carrey blew up into the legend that he was. That was the first guy. Like, this guy is a raw. He was an entity that was put on Earth to make people laugh. Like, even other people like a Cosby at the time, before we found out what we found out, that you're like, okay, I could see this guy doing dramatic stuff. And Carlin can be a comedy philosopher. Mm-hmm. But Jim Carrey and Jim Varney, both of them, the only thing you were put on to do with every syllable and every motion of your body is to be funny.
Right.
You're pure hilarity.
Yeah.
So on my father's side, that. On my mother's side, Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
Nice. And I could see like, okay, this one guy could be a huge living cartoon, Varney, Ernest. And on the other side, this is the guy that's saying stuff that's like, oh my God, I'm hearing words and sex acts in order that would upset a dentist and a proctologist.
Yeah.
And my mom finds this funny?
Right.
My mom finds this funny? What the hell? So yeah, those are two early ones, and now I've got modern day heroes that I've developed as I've become a comedian myself.
Yeah, man, Varney, what a great pull! He was a silly putty man, like
brilliant.
Like Carrie was.
Seen
it's
his
like
movies.
he could make his faces do
Each
crazy
of them multiple
stuff.
times,
Yeah.
multiple times.
I mean,
No,
it's been
he's
a very
spectacular,
long time.
and I don't know why he isn't celebrated more.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for like a documentary,
It'll
a
happen.
biopic, somebody. I wouldn't mind Jim Carrey doing it.
Yeah.
Because that guy fully paved the path. You know what he was? There's Jerry Lewis, then Jim Varney, then Jim Carrey.
Right.
As far as human, like, living cartoons. You know, there should have been another one from around here.
Mm-hmm.
You ever heard of the legend of Eric Myers?
No.
Eric Myers.
Eric Myers is a guy. He's passed. Unfortunately, he was struck and killed by a vehicle leaving a comedy club one night. For those that don't know, another guy that I'll just refuse to let his memory die, that Eric Myers, Eric Myers should have been on the level of a Nate Bargatze, of a Shane Gillis, of a Hinchcliffe, of an Andrew Schultz, of a Rogan, Kreischer, Segura. Pick whoever's your top tier comedian. That is a guy that if you watch, you'll go, how have I never heard of him?
Right. Okay.
He had some substance issues that he overcame. I mean, I think he got into the bottle a little bit, but he never didn't work. You saw him on a bill around here, you would fight to not follow him. You could never follow Eric Myers. He would get on a show and people would beg to go before him. It actually frustrated him because sometimes he might want to go early and get up and go on to another one. And
what era are we talking about?
We're talking probably the aughts. We're probably talking. I was introduced to him in 2004 when I first started stand-up, 2004, 2005. He'd been doing it since the late 90s, I believe. But he was, I mean, moment one phenom. His voice, his body. Imagine a shorter, slender man where he might have, at his best, weighed 120 pounds. Damn. He sounded like a fucking minion brought to life with his voice. The act-outs were incredibly bendy and Gumby-like. So physically, he was funny to watch. Orally, he was funny to listen to.
Right.
And the material was great.
It was original.
It was original and taken from us way too soon, years and years ago.
That sucks.
But that was a guy that in like the lineage of really funny physical comedians, he should have absolutely been on the same level as a Varney, as a Carey, as a Jerry Lewis.
Wow.
Eric Myers. One day I'm
videos. There's a good bit of videos.
When you discover, when you fall down an Eric Myers rabbit hole, you're not going to find your way out of it. And you'll be sad that you know that the material available is finite because he's not with us.
And he's a Baltimore guy.
DC Baltimore.
Right.
Baltimore is hell with some DC influence, but Baltimore, Mickey was one of the guys who used to take him on the road. He would take Eric and I on the road. I'm like, I'm fucking going first.
Right.
Do you understand that? I'm going first while they're still waiting for their chicken tender baskets and for them to bring them the Busch Light. I'll go on. Eric can leave a crater and Mickey can try and perform inside of it as the smoking rubble of a stage as Eric leaves it. And to this day, I miss that guy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's that's a good couple pool that is off the beaten path. I mean, that's I like that.
I'm going camping this weekend, so I'll jump down that rabbit
hole.
You're
going to watch Ernest Goes to Camp this weekend. I was going to say, no way.
Listen to Eric on the way to the campsite and watch the movie there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got one other. I have like 900 things written.
Dude, ask away, man. Whatever you want.
That I get to you. So first of all, your tongue. This is not sexual. Your tongue and wit are so sharp. Please,
lay
baby.
down a tarp.
Chris, dim the lights.
Chris, warm up some margarine, please.
Chris, lights, please.
Yes.
Fact is that your wit and your tongue in the moment, your improv skills are fucking astounding.
Thank you.
Okay. And when I told my boys at Inwood Shop that I was interviewing you, my buddy Ben was like, dude, that guy's like brilliant. He's this little Hawaiian guy.
Oh, it's kind of insane.
But he's like, that guy's brilliant. I mean, he's so fast with his art. So I just wanted to tell you that it's talked about on the streets how quick-witted.
That's nice to hear. Yeah.
Because I know it's a tough skill. I mean, I have it a slight bit, but I don't have a Schlegel amount.
You both got a forked tongue.
And well. Yeah, but not like you.
You're a bit of a Shawn Michaels and Diesel.
Okay,
you're the Heartbreak
I love
Kid.
that.
We've been together
you're
a while.
Big sexy.
Yeah, right.
You're putting up.
We've been together. Watch episode 1 of Sanity Lounge, and you'll get some of the history of Woe Davis.
Watch episode 1 of Flapjack and the Pickle, and know that every now and
Oh
then
my
God
God.
goes out for a smoke break and takes his eyes off the ball.
But so I wanted to compliment you on your wit before I move on to you've got you've been with some badasses. You are a badass, but you've been with some badasses. Notably, recently, the recently rediscovered Harlan Williams.
Yeah, that's my guy.
And that's your guy.
I still talk to him every now and then.
And I want you to tell Woe Davis and people of our audience who hasn't heard it, just briefly a good Harlan story that I've probably heard on. Like if you maybe the Juggalo one or something.
The Juggalo one's kind of. I tell that one a bunch, but I'll give you another one. Here's one. Okay, I'll give you two. Harlan. Do you know that Harlan has a really dark side and writes like horror zombie novels?
No.
He wrote a novel called Crave. And Stephen King would be left up at night if he read this thing.
Really? It's published.
It's published. I bought it on Amazon. I read it. I kept the lights on that night. I had a bat near the bed, garlic, everything ready to go. Automated sentry turrets to track heat signatures. Holy fuck. Read Crave. And the duality of a comedian is pretty vast. That if somebody's this funny, I truly believe in the pendulum theory.
Right.
If you can be this funny all the time, that when that pendulum swings in the other direction, you got to be just about as dark as anybody can get. I'm convinced Bob Ross used to just strangle drifters so he could come. The only way Bob Ross could come is if he breathed in the last breath of somebody that got off the beaten path on a 10K. And Harlan Williams is the same thing.
Right.
And Harlan Williams, he developed a online YouTube-only post-apocalyptic series called The Australian. And it's out there. You can watch it. I'm in one of them.
Wow.
And he bought a plot of land in the middle of the desert. Do you know he has a comedy special called Force of Nature that he did in the middle of the desert at the top of a hill, and it's just him. There's no audience. There's no nothing. It's a 1-hour comedy special in the middle of the fucking desert.
He's an artist. He's a fucking artist, dude.
Brilliant.
I think I've heard of The Australian. That's a show?
It's a show, and he did. Now it's a YouTube series.
Yeah.
And it's a bite-sized thing.
Right.
And it's just him in the middle of the desert with this wandering loner, Mad Max style. I wish I could remember the actor's name, but he's got a trench coat, a shotgun, and
the cowboy hat.
He doesn't have a cowboy hat, but he does have those very strange Christian EC, give you 3 minutes for flash photography, over the eyes, Ray-Ban glasses. He wears them for some reason in these things.
Right.
I always thought it was a bit of an artistic choice, but I'm not here to criticize the director.
Sure.
So it's just him going from wasteland location to wasteland location, having little mini bite-sized adventures.
Right.
And they're not funny.
Yeah.
They're dark as shit. And there's one of them where the guy that played the Old Spice dude, that jacked piece of ass, that black guy, whose abs have a dick that has abs.
Right, Terry Cruz's brother.
It's the guy that looks like Terry Crews. Can we stop and get Terry Crews? We've got Terry Crews at home. That guy, he was a rapist cannibal. And I was his human fleshlight / blood.
Oh my God, I can't wait to watch it.
And I'm shackled to this piece of metal. And you could tell, he has spent quite a bit of time with my South Mouth. And now he's like, we've stuffed this turkey. Let's eat. And thank God,
my South Mouth.
the Australian shows up to save me. And it goes so bad that you got to watch The Australian. It was a very limited run.
And Harlan produced this?
He's never even in it. He writes it, directs it, shoots it, edits it. He's not even in it. He did the graphics in the background. It's brilliant. The other thing he did that
that's amazing.
The Australian.
I think I've heard of that, but I had no idea that he had anything to do with it.
Oh, it's all him. He completely front to back. Did
well,
the
you
whole
could
thing.
tell real quick. You could tell the man is first of all, he's an artistic genius in his comedy delivery. Whatever it is, you can't articulate why, but he's just out there and funny, and he knows what he's doing. It's not aloofness.
No,
but
he's
then
completely
to think
planned.
That he's got this other dark side is very interesting.
Oh,
Go ahead.
John Carpenter levels of depth. I mean,
that makes sense.
Clive Barker era type horror that he's great at. He also did this one thing that it's called Fschlang, FCHLAAAAAAAAANG, and it was his take on the Jackass crew.
Oh shit!
And it's him and I, and he's like, I want to do a prank show, but the pranks are so fucking stupid that the joke is how bad they are.
Right.
And we would do pranks like we would get a mannequin, and we're like, all right, this is Justin, and that's Harlan, and we're doing bitch in a ditch. And we just took a mannequin that might have been a man, and then went into the LA River ditch and then just chucked it over the fence. And that was the end of it. And then he did another one called, all right, we're going to do one called the human speed bump. And we're going to lay down in the road and wait for a car to come. But before it gets to it, we're going to get up and run. That's it. That's the end of it. And then he did another one where
it's called Fschlang.
Called Fschlang. You watch it now. Listen, Crave is great. The Australian is very, very fascinating.
Right.
Fschlang fucking sucks. It's awful. And it's like, I thought the intention was to be so bad that you'd laugh at it, but I think we swam so far out to suck that you couldn't see into the good. I think he'd tell you the same. Like he did another one. We pulled into an In-N-Out burger. He's like, all right, here's going to be the bit. We're going to order like $200 worth of food. We're going to order so much food. We're going to pull up. We're going to pay for it. And then we're leaving.
You're like, well, I'm hungry.
Like, are we getting the food? No. That's the bit. They made all this food. I don't know when he got it.
But it's paid for.
But it's paid for. So he's not ripping anybody off. He's literally costing himself money. And we must have filmed 10 of these other ones. I can't remember.
Dude, there was a thing with Steve Carell. Like there was, I don't know if it was Saturday Night Live or what it was, but him and maybe Dana Carvey do something like that where they pull up to a drive-thru.
Yeah.
Or they pay for gas, but don't get the gas, and they drive off. I wonder if they got that.
They got
from
it from
him.
Fschlang.
That's what it is. They go in and pay for gas, and they're laughing about it, and then they run out and get in the car and drive off without getting the gas, but they paid for it.
Okay, so someone else is getting free gas, and you just cost yourself money. No, and it's amazing. And
it's funny.
And one of my big regrets when I was out in LA and moved back is I didn't stay in better touch with him. And he was a guy that was like, I really want to see you stick around with stand-up, and he really gave me a ton of opportunities, but I was kind of floundering out in Los Angeles badly and wasn't doing well. And then I got the opportunity to come back to 98 because Stash departed the station. I jumped in it pretty quick.
So that was the early 2000s you were living in L.A.?
No, that was 2010 to 2012. I was out there for 2 years doing comedy in L.A. I had a small development deal, didn't turn into anything, and he sort of was my Sherpa to stuff and let me in the door. And but, we talked about it this morning as we were recording this on the 8th today?
Yes.
I believe. We had Tony Rock, Chris Rock's brother, and we asked him a question, who held the door for you in comedy? Because you need kind of somebody to let you in. And who are you holding the door for? And he named some people that he's helping, but he's like, once we let you in, then you got to start opening the next doors. And Harlan did that for me, and I wasn't able to continuing to open any other doors. I was just... Auditions weren't great. Writing wasn't great. I had nothing. And when I left, I feel like he might have been a little disappointed in me that I bailed.
Right.
Because I had some friends that stuck with it and absolutely flamed out financially and now work at an H&R Block. And I had some other friends that stuck with it, and now they're Adam Ray.
Right.
And are doing legendary characters.
Does Harlan know that you're doing awesome now?
He knows,
okay,
but I don't tend to talk to him about comedy very much. We just talk about other stuff. We just catch up. So
good.
But I talk to him maybe once a month, and same thing with like an Adam Ray. If I talk to him,
dude, that guy. How about the year he's having?
He's brilliant. I mean, what about Harlan and him? All because of that kind of Kill Tony universe where they're both crushing.
Dude,
that's a guy, Adam Ray. That fucker fought it out in the trenches forever. Him and I would write a little bit out west.
Now, is he Philly guy, or where's he from?
I don't know where he's from.
I think he's from somewhere east, but he went...
I should know. He's a friend and I don't. I just know he's brilliant, and I know he worked his ass off. It's not a recent thing with this Dr. Phil character and some of the stuff that he's doing with Kill Tony and just his regular stand-up. That guy, I mean, fought.
Okay, I know who that guy. He does the Dr. Phil guy.
That Dr. Phil guy.
He does Joe Biden to Shane Gillis's Trump.
Right, I know who you're talking about now. And I didn't know my name.
And you don't know. You just don't know which way it's going to go, because I got some names I could prattle off for you. They'd be like, I got no idea who they are. I'm like, that's somebody in L.A. that I worked with.
Right.
And they flamed out into nothing, and they wish they would have maybe parlayed into something else. And then you have an Adam Ray who just fought and never stopped, and talent meets luck equals success. And then you even have a Harlan who by all accounts has had a pretty great career.
Right.
But then in the past year or two with the Kill Tony stuff and the Rogan-verse and all the other people, that he's now having a full-ass career resurgence. He's brilliant. He's never not been brilliant. Did you see his Rogan episode?
Dude, it was so incredible. I had to pull over.
It's brilliant.
I had to pull over because I was laughing so hard I was crying, because he's so goddamn weird. And he did the whole interview with a tapeworm.
He had
a bite on him, and like he's doing the interview and he's going, we got to talk a little bit quieter because I have a tapeworm and it tickles my throat or some weird ass shit.
Right.
And at the end of it, it was a bit like
he pulled a tapeworm like out of himself. That's just a rubber snake.
Right.
He built, you know what he likes to do? He loves to quietly, without telling you, build a minefield and then ask you to go take a walk.
Right.
And he will walk you through a minefield of shit that he's got set up and ready to go. And one of the most preeminent examples of that is this Rogan interview where Joe's trying to talk to him about like, Canada. It's like, oh yeah, a lot of Kodiaks up there, a lot of bears. And you go, okay, this is Joe's thing. Loves wildlife, loves how brutal nature can be. And goes, I got attacked by a bear. No, you didn't. And then he pulls his shirt open. He's got the most done at the county fair fake fucking claw mark tattoo that was done with like theater makeup, and it just Joe keeps stepping in it.
And Joe was there, and he was there for an hour before that even came out. Like he led Joe into a bear talk, and then was like, "I got attacked." He's like, "I'll show you the scar."
That's impressive.
And Joe's like, "You're fucking ridiculous." He's like, "What are you laughing at? I got attacked." Like he,
wow, Joe,
you know, he plays it real straight.
Thought I'd get some sympathy from you, buddy, but guess not. It's brilliant. I'm actually kind of stealing a little bit of his energy.
Yeah.
I'm doing a special on November 30th, and
we know that's awesome.
There's something that I'm doing in the middle of it, that you're not going to see until it's edited. Mm-hmm. That's going to be very weird. That you're going to go, the fuck was that? Okay. It's going to be very brief, but it's going to be a lot of that's from Harlan. A lot of that's energy. Like you can make comedy whatever you want it to be. And as long as you do your due diligence of making sure the audience enjoys it or at least doesn't forget it. Mm-hmm. And so something that's going to go on. It's a special called Chaos Theory. It'll be out in January. In somewhere during it, in the middle of a pretty by the numbers comedy special. Yeah. You'll go, rewind that.
I can't wait.
Rewind that one more time. What the fuck was that?
Dude, I can't wait.
So you're recording that at Ram's Head on stage. You're doing 2 nights though, but you're only
two shows one night.
You're recording one night.
I'm recording both. No, I'm recording both shows on one night. Doing a 6:30 show, 9:30 show.
Okay.
We're going to record each one and then Frankenstein them together for quality set, 45 minutes.
Nice. Yeah. And that comes out in January.
Yeah, mid-January.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that because you've had a hell of a year. You've had a hell of a decade. But I mean, you know, this past it probably was wild. Did you get to see and say hi to Adam backstage at Merriweather?
Yeah, we hung out and threw ourselves into each other's arms. So, dude, a lot of that I got to. What you're referencing is in June. I got to do the Bert Kreischer Fully Loaded Comedy Tour.
Unbelievable, dude.
And I've been quietly
Scott and Joe Robinson, baby.
Well, I'll tell you this. I attacked it from a few angles. Mm-hmm. The people that pulled the trigger that, killed the target was Scott and Joe. Right. Mm-hmm. But quietly behind the scenes, I had also asked Chad Daniels, who I used to open for, who was on one of the legs. Right. Mm-hmm. Did you mind putting in a word? Right. Stavros Alkius, would you mind putting in a word?
Sure. Nice.
Adam Ray. So what I did was hopefully seed the earth with my name being mentioned. And then when they got him on the air, they were like, hey, would you have this guy, Justin Schlegel? And he's like, I keep hearing that name. I'm imagining he says this in his head. Like, yes. Okay, this has been brought up to me a couple of times by other people. Sure. Yeah. And then I get there. I was supposed to do 5 minutes, and the other comics, particularly Adam and Stavros, vouched for me. They're like, no, he can do 15. Mm-hmm. Give him a full set. Right. Because they've been doing guest sets for the market comedians, someone in whatever town they're in. Sure. Someone will come on, do a little bit of time. But they gave me a full 15. Nice. And that was just because of some people helping out. So that was a pretty special moment.
We were so happy. It was great. You. Yeah. Oh my God.
That was awesome.
That was a real nice night. That was a real nice night.
We can talk about the DLP.
Yeah, well, that leads me to Joe.
I was just at the Halloween Whodunit at Magooby's, the first the 7 o'clock show. My brother-in-law was the king of hearts. That was on stage.
Oh shit, was he?
Yeah,
okay.
Jimmy. Yeah. He was the ex-boyfriend.
Hell yeah, man!
Yeah.
He did a good job.
And I was Yukon.
He did a very good job.
Yeah, he was.
The Yukon Cornelius was great.
That was me.
That show can only be described as a hazelnut-scented clusterfuck. That thing was. It was a little over. Okay.
He said you were fucking great.
It was incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, you were essentially the host. You were Sherlock Holmes.
One of the few people that didn't decide to absolutely powerbomb their system with mushrooms.
I knew you were going to say that.
I could tell when I got out because you didn't. You were. I went out and talked to Tommy, took pictures of. I could tell
I was in the back
he
going,
was amped.
Fuck, dude. Like, I was in the back going, well,
dude,
it's only going to get worse the next show. Like
yeah.
Some of the cast got a little twisted up.
Sure.
And by the end of the second one, did you come the first one or the second one?
First one.
The second one was a tire fire. The second one was, you wish we would have just played Flapjack and the Pickle on the PA.
Right.
Because
No,
we're forgetting entire plot points. Microphones aren't working. Were you there for the girl that was cast as the naughty neighbor that was like only 18?
Yes, she was the first one. Yeah.
That they cast a girl in the play that is meant to be a very sexually provocative neighbor that dresses kind of whorish, and I'm supposed to give her shit about that. And they always find some withered old husk of jerky in the crowd. They always find some lady that won't shut the fuck up about blowing half of White Snake in the late 80s.
Right.
But this time, they went and found someone that might have escaped Epstein's Island and cast her. And I started asking her, I'm like, how old are you?
Right.
Can you buy alcohol legally?
Right.
Nope. Like, oh.
And to top it all, she was in the front row, too.
Front row with a boyfriend.
Front row.
Who was not stoked.
Right.
I mean, he crosses his arms immediately.
Right. He was probably real happy.
Oh, he was real happy.
You fucked with him a little bit.
A little bit, but I course corrected it. Like, we're reading verbatim from this script. I'm not improving anything about your borderline underage body. No. Your teen is at the end of your age.
Right.
Okay,
Sure.
18, 19. We got to keep this above board.
Yeah,
Right.
That's funny. Dude, when you said that too, you were like, because you mentioned it during the show about the mushrooms, and I leaned over to Owen. I was like, dude, he's not lying.
Not to say, on prior DLP performances, I might not have been seeing through my third eye during a few of those. And maybe a couple of times in years gone by before I discovered Christ, maybe we had gone skiing, but in August ahead of time. So,
Right.
It was like, wow, we're going to finish this whole thing in 20 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
It was great.
no, it was fun. Those are great.
It was so fun.
Well, that's the thing about these things that Rob Mayer writes them. Joe Robinson helps coordinate, and we all massage them in rehearsal. But they're purpose built to where if they go exactly like we planned, they're great.
Yeah.
And if they get fucked up, sometimes they're better.
Right.
That there's few of these things that ever bomb. That you even when they're off the rails, they're great.
Yeah.
Right. The mystery of the unknown is fun, and especially if you have a bit of your hand on the lever, you know where the possibilities of, and you can have fun with
I
it.
guessed wrong, too. I knew that somebody dropped the licorice in the fucking bucket. I just couldn't figure out who it was.
Yeah, it was that whorish ex-girlfriend.
She's a
It
whore.
was good.
Whore!
I did get to talk to Joe after that, so we're going to get him to come in here.
You weren't there for the second show. You
No.
didn't realize what happened with the licorice.
No.
Eric ate it, and we didn't have any licorice left.
Joe told this story on the air Monday.
So
Say it.
we go and we're in the middle of the show and goes, hey, wait a minute, I didn't put this in the bucket. And he's supposed to pull out a piece of poison black licorice, and then he eats it and he dies.
Right.
There's no licorice in there. So we go, oh, fuck, someone's got to get to the back and find there's a tub of licorice back there. So we send the best person we could, the drunkest member of the cast. We send Eric back there as the Colonel Macho Man Randy Sanders. He heads back. He can't find it.
The costume was
The costume's great. Macho Man Randy Sanders can't find it. So what he does, clutch move. The pockets collapse. Lamar's got to run. Right. Eric goes, I've got a black spoon. I'll bend it in half and hand it to Joe while cupping most of the spoon in my hand and be like, hey, I found it. Clearly isn't candy. Clearly can see the spoon. Joe's got to take it from him and pretend to eat it. And Joe very comically goes, and instead of being like, yum, I think I'm gonna die, he goes, yum, 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 dies. And certain members of the cast look at each other like, well, this is fucked from jump. And it's the very beginning. We forgot the murder weapon, and yet it still kills.
Yeah, I can see that.
Incredible.
That's amazing.
Well, so Joe Robinson, I've been a fan of that guy for a minute now because he would fill in
he's
the
remarkable.
morning show, and then he's a real big Orioles guy, and my father,
It's his first love.
Yeah, my father was a huge Orioles guy, and so I'm very into Joe Robinson. I think he's a great comedy writer. I've never seen him do stand up, but I want to get him in here
You need
because
to.
I want to hear his story. I want him to hear the story with Tom Arnold, and we won't get into it.
Let him tell that story. Yo, about feuding with a headliner.
Oh my God, it was unbelievable.
About feuding with the headliner you're doing the show with.
Yeah,
yes,
you briefly told me, but he didn't tell me any
God,
details.
because
He's
it's
like,
years
we got to
ago.
get him in
I
here
just
to tell
remember.
the story.
Oh, it's great.
And while I'm talking about DLP, Rob Mayer we reached out to, and
Also
Rob
brilliant.
said he would do a Zoom with us, and we want to do it, and we
We need to get him in.
Literally right now, we've got a little bit of money behind the show. We just sent out a press packet today to everybody because the Sun closed down.
Yeah, the Baltimore Sun Guild closed their featured art section.
Right, the
so they're not
artistry
covering music, comedy, art, anything anymore.
And so we are trying to do an event calendar for the city, an organized advertisement event calendar for the city. We are doing it. It's called What's Happening in Baltimore.
Yep.
And but anyway, we would like to we will start advertising DLP agenda stuff.
We'd love
like
that. That would be amazing if you guys any little bit can help, and it sounds like not a little bit, a lot of bit.
Yeah, we're sending out our first weekly email blast went out yesterday. So it tells you what's going on throughout the week everywhere. Music, art show, comedians, everything.
That's helpful.
Yeah,
That's
we're going nuts with it.
We're trying to, the world's changing so quickly and everything's just going, different. And our theory is that there's no reason why Baltimore can't be another one of these great cities that everybody from all sides comes together in and good stuff starts happening.
Look what happened with Austin.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Austin wasn't on the comedy map 10 years ago.
And there's plenty of shows in Austin. They're all working together. They're all growing the community. It's a good thing. It doesn't have to happen anywhere else other than here.
Yep.
And anyway, the point of all this is we want to get Mayer on. We want to get Robinson on. Is Rob Mayer in a Rice Mirtha-Pesaurus commercial?
Fuck yeah, he is, man.
In a what?
Rice Mirtha-Pesaurus, your personal injury lawyers, ricelawmd.com. If you need advice, call Rice. You don't get paid. They don't get paid.
Did you do the voice?
No,
I wish I would. I asked.
He will.
He's my lawyer. Randolph Rice. He's the fucking man.
Right.
Yeah.
He will. He will do the voice if they ask him. But last night I'm watching the Ravens game with my son, and I'm going, I think that's fucking Rob Mayer.
100% Rob Mayer.
Yeah.
No better person to star in that damn thing. And
awesome.
telling you, Randolph spends money.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I want some primetime positioning in a Ravens game at the beginning of the Ravens game when everybody tunes in. Some people might fade out towards the end depending on how the game's going. Yep. But no, everybody's there for kickoff.
Right.
And he's like, I want that shit centered around it. And Rob's gotten a ton of impressions. You should definitely have Joe up. Joe is a frustrating case in stand-up right now. And if you can, much like Eric Myers, go back and look at some old Joe Robinson clips. Right now, we're in the era of crowd work.
Right.
The crowd work comedian is ruling the roost. Matt Rife built a career in it. Nobody does it better than Stavi.
Sure.
The dude that did it around here was Joe Robinson. No one, and I mean no one, could touch him when it came to crowd work. If you had to do 45 minutes, he could leave his joke book in the back and absolutely go person to person to table and not tell you guys been together. You guys fucking? How long you guys been together? You guys fucking? None of that? No. Not to say that wouldn't come up, but he would find something. And he would absolutely dune sandworm his way into their fucking life and not let up. I mean, like a snapping turtle.
He's a brilliant writer. You can just hear, even when he fills in for you guys, he's got the sharp wit.
He's brilliant. He's Mensa level intelligent. And the reason I say he's a frustrating case in comedy is because right now, a Joe Robinson would be on top of the world. Now, he's got other interests now, and I think he just doesn't have interest in doing. He loves DLP. Thank God. Selfishly, thank God he quit stand-up because I get to have him. Sure. But if he was doing stand-up right now the way that he did and still can, no one could stand a chance against his crowd work. No one.
That's crazy. I never realized that. I knew he was a great comedy writer. I know he's done stand-up. I've never personally seen stand-up, and all of my Joe Robinson
I've never seen him bomb.
Is 98 Rock, and some of it's sports. Didn't he used to do like a post-game show,
Ravens pregame show with Kirk McEwen.
Right.
Yep.
I got like that, and
he's filled in on sports. No, he's got a sports head that's brilliant. And funny, which I love. I love when he folds his love of sports into his love of comedy. You get magic. Yeah, him and Kirk together are incredible.
And Rob and him, I guess, are kind of a dynamic duo.
Oh Rob was the best man at his wedding. Those two are forever tied at the hip. I'm glad Rob drives the car. Joe sits in the passenger seat with the road map, and I'm just the dipshit kid in the back that has to stop and piss every 10 minutes.
Dude, you're the talent, baby.
No, I'm the child in the back seat. I got no problem with that. Let him drive, him navigate, and I'll be in the back eating all the Dunkaroos that you told me to wait in case we can't find a place to pull over. I eat them before we've left the neighborhood. That's what I am in the car of that is DLP.
And at Woodworth, man, we want to get him on here too.
Wrecking ball of funny he is.
We want to get Bussy on.
Get Bussy, get them both up.
Oh yeah, Tommy's like, we'll do the bit in there, like with no crowd.
Don't sleep on Sean Gabbard either. Sean Gabbard, the most classically trained actor on the group. You know, the one guy that played Indiana Jones.
Yes.
He is a trained actor.
Oh, really?
He's a playwright.
Wow.
He's a great comedian. He's going to be a part of my special. Oh no, Sean Gabbard is a secret weapon.
Well, wonderful.
Oh, he's another guy that when you find out what he does for a living. Off the air, and maybe he'll discuss it on. He ain't hurting for milk money.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about getting everybody in we can to showcase that Baltimore is more than what the news acts like it is.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to it.
It's an upswing. There is issues, of course. Yeah. But it's not like, I mean, there's issues in Westminster. If you walk in Westminster, it's sketchy.
Coming out of here.
Yeah, people are getting stabbed in the face in Paris.
Absolutely.
People are getting forced onto in the outskirts of Moscow, and you can laugh in radio in Baltimore.
Yeah. So let me make sure. Okay, let me ask you this. How do you know, like, is it just through 98 Rock? But a lot of times whenever our boy Pastrana comes in, you seem to have history with him. Is it just because he's a Maryland guy, or you were a skateboarder?
I was a skater.
Right, back in the 90s.
And we met during a Nitro Circus promotional thing, and I asked to come to his place, and he loves putting people through the paces at Pastrana Land in Davidsonville, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I skate. I'd love to hit your big launch ramp into the airbag. And I think a lot of people say they want to, and then they see the size of some of the stuff, and like, fuck no, that is an absolute one way to somebody having to host a bull and oyster roast to build a ramp for me because my legs don't work anymore. And he's got this massive roll-in to a huge metal ramp on his property to a gigantic crash pad airbag that you could fall 6 stories out of. And I fucking hit the thing. Yeah. And I went off and did an early grab through the air and landed. And he's like, oh, fuck. Okay, I guess you can. I guess you're dumb enough to do this. And then me and a friend of mine named Alex Buck went up in his cherry picker and just fell 6 stories out of it onto the crash pad. And we became friends because I said I would do this. And then I became really good friends with Street Bike Tommy, sort of the Robin to his Batman. And now when he's in town, we always promote stuff. He's helped us shoot programs over there. I put him in touch with some AEW wrestlers like Darby Allin and him are best friends now. And he's going to be bringing Nitro Circus back to the area next year. I've already, as a matter of fact, I'm going to give you guys another
exclusive.
Sanity Lounge exclusive.
Shit.
Let me see if I can pull this bitch up here. This is the one. Okay, so this is only about a month ago. I said, there you go. And I want you to do this to me. And he's like, all right, motherfucker, let's dance.
Right.
And
the Jack Nicholson.
The Jack Nicholson nod, like, yeah, bitch, we're doing it. So when Nitro Circus comes back to town, you might see somebody up there that looks like a hairy Make-A-Wish kid pushing his sickly ass down a ramp. And if he dies, we sort of expected him to. The doctors only gave him till spring.
Right.
So fuck it. We'll send him out to that body farm that they let scientists experiment on. I'll be doing something at... Hopefully, I'll be laughing the whole way down, laughing through the air. Hopefully, but yeah, he's a great guy, and he's Maryland to the core. He's so deeply ingrained in Maryland. Let's not sleep on his wife.
Right, I don't know.
Lindsay Pastrana.
I mean, is she a philanthropist?
Two-time gold medalist, X Games.
Oh my gosh!
Winner.
Oh
yeah.
yes,
Lindsay.
I don't know why the hell I didn't.
One of the winningest X Games skaters of all time. Both their kids can drive quads over 100-foot jumps at the age of 7.
Right.
No, the whole family, their family, the Pastrana family is the fucking Incredibles.
Right.
Wow.
There's no black sheep. They're all elitely talented.
It's the Knievel evolution.
Yeah. Yeah, like his daughters do, they do that competitive cheer. We're not talking like pom-pom shit. I'm talking Cirque du Soleil, throw you and have you do 15 Jeff Hardy style flips and land perfectly in a Superman Marvel pose.
Right.
Since the age of like 4 and 5. Oh no, they're amazing.
Well, so it's funny because in a little bit of Kenny serendipity, I'm in an 80s cover band. It's an 80s, 90s cover band, but most of the band goes to this one church, and I don't go to church, so I'm the only heathen in the band. But over time, I've met a lot of people from the church. And one of the people that I've met is a guy named Anthony Hurley.
Okay. Oh, Anthony Hurley fucking rules, man.
And Hurley,
that guy rips.
Yeah, you mentioned Hurley on the air the other day.
Oh, dude,
and
Hurley's the man.
So now I've known that Hurley was a songwriter. Now he just started coming out with original songs, like just I think over the past few years. So we're gonna have him up.
Right. I met him at the Spring Thing 98 Rock concert backstage with Pastrana, Street Bike Tommy, Tim Montana. And Hurley. And Hurley was back there, and he was thick as thieves with all those dudes.
Yeah, well, he knows street. I don't know how, but he somehow knows all those guys.
Street Bike Tommy is the modern day Keith Mills.
Right.
He knows everybody.
Interesting.
There's nobody. Somehow Street Bike Tommy knows you too.
That's so
At some
funny.
point, he's bedded down a cousin. Right. At some point, he's built something that one of your relatives have lived inside of. He's helped some uncle's peepaw set up a still. No, Street Bike Tommy knows fucking everybody.
Yeah.
What's the name of the band?
Making Waves.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so I've been like again.
They're fantastic. They're great.
We're kind of like.
Where can I see you play?
What's that?
Where can I see you play?
Faggers.
One more time.
Ocean City. Faggers, not Faggers. Faggers in Ocean City.
The names of the places you go to are suspect.
Yeah, I know, baby.
Okay.
I know. Stables,
the
your
stables
in
Westminster.
Westminster.
McAvoy's, that would be close to. I don't. Where do you live?
I live in Annapolis. I live the Cape St. Clair area near Broadneck High School.
Down that way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like we usually play McAvoy's, Stables,
That's in
Ocean
McAvoy's
City.
is in Parkville.
Casinos.
You
and
play
stuff like that.
you play
Yeah,
everywhere.
We play a lot. But the point is that when you had said Hurley, you know, I saw you in a picture. You said him. I'm like, I know a Hurley. It can't be my
Same
Hurley. The Hurley that we all know,
Right.
you know. And so it is, but it's just a little bit of serendipity.
You know what's frustrating about that guy? Have you had a chance to meet Mr. Hurley?
No, I haven't.
No, he hadn't met him.
Fucking gorgeous. Like,
he's a gorgeous man.
Has no business being that handsome and that talented. On top of that, huge crank. Okay, I've seen the.
I don't know about that.
Well, you're gonna see it. Because you can see the outline of it in a pair of cargo shorts.
Whenever
real
you see,
easy.
whenever you see
You're
him,
gonna look for him next time you see him.
Yeah.
I said, I wonder if the people of the church know.
No, no. They think they're standing on the pulpit. Like, no, we're actually sitting down on this massive anaconda with John Boyd looking pecker of his. It's I don't know if he knows that I know, but I was on stage and I had the light hit it just right. And it was like when some old chick from Albania sees Jesus in her toast.
Right.
And I was like, well, look at that angel of mercy tucked beneath those BVDs of his. Threw my whole set off.
Interesting.
Threw my whole set off.
Yeah, well, we'll bring it up. You know,
That's funny.
Hey, Hurley, good to have you. Let's see
Right,
that
I go,
cock.
Hurley, about this hog. What are
Hey,
you talking here?
Mind us tracing that and see if we can make it from one side to the other without it running out of ink?
Now listen, speaking of strange hogs here, there is another one in the Scott. We want to get Scott in this show somehow. Now Reardon is
Speaking
probably
of strange hogs,
He's
that's how
an
you
enigma.
intro-
Well, you don't know. You don't listen all the time like I do. But
Right.
Scott's hog, they did like a candle, like when Mickey and
man
him.
candle.
Yeah, when he did the producer show, Mickey and him did a mold your own dick candle.
Yeah.
And literally, Mickey was like, he thought it was fake. He was like, well,
This
this is
isn't
mine.
real.
He was like, this is mine, but that's obviously not Scott's. And
Right.
Scott's like, that's 100% mine. You know,
It's
and
absolutely his. It was heavy.
It became the thing of legend. And so all these years,
I would use it to
But
do
it was
bicep curls back
right.
in the studio.
What
Right.
was it, a dick candle?
It's a cock candle.
yeah, this is years ago.
Right,
this
right,
is
right.
when it was originally
We
made.
don't have it anymore.
Right.
We donated to St. Jude for a silent auction. Okay. We grafted it to a young child that didn't have a penis. And it was either that or meet Cena. And they're like, give me the wax dick. The first time I saw it, it is startling to look at. You want to cut it in half to count the fucking rings? Like, oh, how many fires did this little fella survive? It's horrendous.
Every once and again, Schlegel, or he'll hit the dinosaur, like
When I talk about his pecker, I fire off the T-Rex sound effect because it's real. It's a real thing. It's not a myth. I've seen that thing unfurl before, like a crabber looping the rope onto the deck of his boat. No, he has to wake up 10 minutes early to wash that thing. It's
So,
wild.
all that's to say, Scott, not because of that,
right?
but Scott
Well,
is a fish head.
Yeah.
And so over
Jam
the
band
years,
guy, man, loves him.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've occasionally,
Chatted.
talked to him
Yep.
on Facebook about fish or whatever, and this is that. He probably thinks I'm a serial killer, and I do know that Scott is.
No, he loves talking music.
I do know Scott's a bit of a, like he wants to make sure everything's everything. He's a no nonsense cat.
That's
so
the producer in him.
he
always
probably
I
he
mentioned
vets.
him. I mentioned that you've been talking to him when I saw him when we were
good.
there.
Well,
He said he remembered, but I don't know if
maybe
he
not.
did. Yeah.
No, he did. He's got a good memory. If he says he remembered, he remembered.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I say I remembered, I don't. I'm lying to you.
Right.
I have no idea. Yeah.
So Scott is one other dream of getting in here, and the third is the Spiegel,
Right.
which I don't see happening even for the
that's
rest.
a lofty goal, brother.
I
brother.
told you what I did that day when I walked through his
Tell
space
the
when he got
audience,
up and
'cause
went
they'll
to the
get a kick
bathroom.
out.
When I handed you the card, when I walked through Josh's, when he got up and left for a minute, and I walked over through where he was, and you were like, dude.
Let's get out of. You're in his nest. You are in Gollum's fucking den. Okay, Grendel the dragon is going to come to return to sit on his pile of gold. Get the fuck out of there.
Well, look, I'm watching on Livewire.
I knew it wasn't as it was happening.
I'm watching on Livewire because I'm like, he's there representing the show, and I
what the
see
fuck
him
is he
cross
doing?
over, and I'm texting Amanda, I'm going, tell Woe Davis to get the fuck out of
There
Spiegel.
are pressure
What
pads
fuck
on the
is wrong
floor
with
that
him?
trigger an alarm to his phone,
And
and he's
then-
reaching for nunchucks.
When he told me you said that, I was like, dude, I was shitting my pants because I was like, man, if he turns around and Spiegel's right there, like
It's
could
going to be like
go-
in a movie where you think you've escaped the Jason Voorhees
Right.
and finally turn away and, oh shit, neck. I
got
get to see
back.
what my insides look like.
We got back in time. I got out.
You
of
did.
there.
You definitely, you got in, you got out. You explored the cave and left. But you
I knew it
ventured
was
where
happening when I walked
few
in.
men dare. So the fact that you sat here and lived to tell the tale, pretty incredible. The missus, you stayed there 2 minutes longer, and the missus has a Tinder profile because she's trying to find love again.
It was just so funny because in real
It's funny
time,
that you
I
saw
was
it.
thinking what you were thinking when
Yeah.
I saw him cross over. I'm like, oh my God.
I
like,
know
what
this
the
motherfucker
fuck is
isn't
going
walking
on?
over to Josh's
I'm
area.
like, we'll never get these fuckers on this show. Like,
Scott, I can make happen. Spiegs,
yeah.
you know, if you pretend you're sick.
Right. I'll tell him I'll give him we'll mold a predator dog or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'll actually probably push him even farther
He'll
away.
think I'm a serial killer.
Yeah. Tell him you have an all-Jewish 90s cover band called Hanukkah Lewinsky.
Oh my God.
Huh?
Okay. Brilliant.
Huh?
And we'll play Chava Nagila.
That could be fun. Welcome to the jungle, stuff like that. That'll endear our sweet little Israeli friend to maybe making the trip here.
Right.
Taking the train down from Boston.
That's fucking incredible. Right. As we know, he lives
day.
out of state.
Every
of course.
day he trains
Dedication
down from
of this
Boston.
guy.
That son of a bitch.
It's incredible.
Yeah, every day. Takes
He
the train
lives
from
in
Boston.
Boston?
He
Every
doesn't. He doesn't want the audience to be able to triangulate his location.
Sure.
So
You
the
hear something
shtick
crazy?
is he's
Yeah.
in Boston.
I've worked with him, JSS, for 11 years. I've known him for 20.
Right.
I have no idea where he lives.
Not a clue.
And I never want to know.
Right.
I don't want to know. I hope it's like the fucking movie Longlegs and he's in my basement the entire time. No idea. What's that tapping? I hope. Yeah. No idea. So I'm just like, he lives in Boston on the outskirts,
Right.
takes the train. Let the man remain an enigma.
Dude,
I love
that
the
guy is
mystery
a
box.
goddamn treasure. I wish more people realize.
Oh, he moves on flip to smooth jazz. We're fucking toast.
Oh
Yeah, no.
my
Spiegs
God,
heads to
dude.
another market or decides to hang it up. Oh, no. El Zol Part 2.
It's
yeah.
just because even Mickey back in the day, if you recall, Mickey didn't know what to make of him at first. Like Mickey, when he first became the news guy, I just remember Mickey being like, you got to lighten up, guy. Like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Like, it was like, and then all of a sudden Mickey realizing that he's just different.
There's no
Like,
lightening up. No, that's the one thing. If you play with the colors he's laid out, he'll lay out plenty of crayons for everybody.
Right.
Don't bring your own crayons. You play within his parameters, you're gonna have a great time. You're gonna have a great time. But you might as well scream at the wind to blow in a different direction. You'll have more luck.
That's fucking.
But
incredible.
let him be him and celebrate it and let him drive. He'll take you somewhere beautiful every time.
Oh my God, he's so funny, dude.
Oh, he's brilliant. He's
And
the most
many
brilliant person I've
people-
ever worked with.
Everybody's like, I'm sure. Is he really like that? I bet you
He's weirder off air.
Right, he probably is.
Weirder,
I mean,
way weirder off air. No, that's the contained people have to hear me thing.
Right.
I'll tell you one brief story
Good.
off the air that you'll be like, are you fucking kidding me? something I heard him say once about someone that I was like, God damn, he's got a horror inside of him that will never be for air.
Yeah.
And Woe Davis, we're going to wrap up the final questions here. But one other thing I wanted to bring up in case you don't know, one of the greatest bits in morning show history is Sleep Talk Audio.
It's the greatest thing we've ever done.
And Spiegel, goes to sleep, and the app will record his farts or his noises all night
long.
And they play it on the radio. And let me tell you something: Inwood Shop, Baltimore County, all walks of life, black, white, Hispanic, Hawaiian, whatever. Sleep Talk Audio, when it's on, everybody's cross texting, turn it on, record. We can't miss it.
It never misses.
Oh my God.
It never misses.
The man's a psychopath. He's full of gas. The shit, the farts.
They're remarkable.
They're remarkable.
I've never heard it. But one of the biggest questions we get is Josh like that. The second thing we get is that real?
Right.
And okay, here's something else. And we've talked about this lightly on the air. And one day I've asked him to will it to me. I don't want money. I don't want property. I don't want the dog. I don't want the Murrows. I want the tracks he won't release.
That's right.
Because he records the way the Sleep Talk app works. If you're looking for it, it's a little red icon with a white bed. It's free. You set it up. It records some ambient noise around you to kind of get a baseline of like, okay, this is what the room sounds like. So I'm not going to turn on every time the fan kicks in.
Right.
But it detects audio, within a millisecond and starts recording. And he brings us these tracks. And it's him shitting himself to death. Where I'm telling you, if I farted the way he did, I'd expect to flip open the covers and there's my whole skeleton. I have absolutely farted my rib cage out of my asshole. And then the other thing he does is he screams entire sentences. Insane shit.
Right. Like serial killer type
stuff. One day I will wear your skin. Like, oh no.
Wolf Blitzer.
You have to demother me, mother. Right. Crazy shit.
You're not
That's
my
crazy.
mother.
But he's only given us 90% of it.
Right.
And there's some stuff that he says like, you can't hear these.
Right.
And I want that audio.
Yeah.
I want to know the things that he was responsible for. I want to know the things that he said, the things he's admitted to, the crimes maybe committed.
Right.
Or maybe a fart so vile, he's like, they can't have this. This was too frothy.
Well,
there
look,
was too much murk.
He's got all the farts on like one run, so he can at will like bring them up. And there's one that's like a Jake brake from a fucking truck. Like it's literally like, and like
it's 6.7 seconds
they'll lead it into
long.
like being a break. Like it's hard to explain. It's shocking. Like it doesn't sound like a fart. It sounds
but it
like
is.
Yeah, but it is.
One of my favorite things
I know
we ever
the break
did
sound you're talking about.
was during the heyday of Sons of Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
We played the Sons of Anarchy theme, and over top of it, where the motorcycle would rev its engine, I just played his ass revving
That's
up.
what it was. That's
And
what
I almost puked laughing. Loa Melzer, who was in there at the time, was crying. We couldn't gather ourselves. We had to play a song. Like, we can't catch our breath because it timed up so. It was called the Fart Harley.
That's
Fart
what I'm
Harley,
thinking of.
Fart Symphony. I mean, yeah,
Dude,
farts are eternally
It's
funny.
shocking.
That's incredible.
And his are brilliant. It's the farts and the talking. He's good for about one batch a year, maybe two, and he knows when it's going to happen.
Sleep Talk Audio.
Depending on if he starts to stress eat, he knows that he's going to get some real juice. And if he's being forced to do some stuff he doesn't really feel like, but he will agree to, he's about as agreeable a person as you'll ever meet, but he does get stressed.
Right.
He knows that those frustrations are going to fucking leap out of him in the middle of the night when the governor is off, and he gives it to us. But all the tracks are pre-diced and ready to go. And there's stuff that we haven't heard that one day I'll get.
Yeah, so he just doesn't give you raw footage.
No, he edits
he's not like rummage through this. Sure, please feel free to listen to the track where I admit to killing John Benet Ramsey. Like, no, where I'm like celebrating some sort of horrible American tragedy.
Right.
Yeah, no. You don't. He's like that's for Dad. That stays here.
Oh my God, I love the guy. It's so fucking
He's brilliant.
fun.
I'll work on getting him in here.
The show itself, JSS, is a juggernaut, and I want to congratulate you on the success because it's, as you know, in this, there is no market for radio, but you guys have the market in radio. I mean,
I've said I don't like working in radio. I like working in 98 Rock.
Yeah.
If for whatever reason shows come to an end, and they will, and we will, I won't go work at another radio station.
Right.
I'll be done.
Right.
You work at 98 Rock, and then that's it.
It's a different kind of
There's
company.
nowhere else to go because it doesn't get better than where we work.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
So
I agree with that.
Do you got anything you want to go till we?
Let's move
All right.
it.
So the final thing we
change,
always bring up
okay.
is we're movie guys. I'm a movie guy.
Hell yeah, same.
I know
Big
you
time.
are. Yeah, I've been a fan for years. Woe Davis and I have a history of cinema. So we always like to get if you can pick a top 3. Loosely, top 3 movies, what would they be?
Oh man, that's hard to ask.
It is.
But I mean, on my trifecta of my Triforce of action films, you would get Aliens, RoboCop, Terminator. I mean, doesn't really get much better than that.
Right,
Okay, and as far as comedies, I really like Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou is my favorite comedy of all time because at the end of it, I always fucking cry when he finds the jaguar shark.
It's notably tender.
It's notably tender. Yeah. I'm also a huge Mad Max guy. I love the Mad Max films. Fury Road, Furiosa let me down a little bit, but almost all of those things I love. But yeah, like as far as like desert island films, I got to watch this thing over and over and over again. I'm probably going Aliens.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll go Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Because that's infinitely rewatchable from any point at any time. And I know I want to be like this cinephile that has these deep cuts you've never heard of, but I'm not gonna. And Goodfellas.
Nice.
As far as Aliens, Boogie Nights, Goodfellas, 3 films that I could watch all 3 and then just start all 3 over again and enjoy them again.
We have a Goodfellas episode.
Yeah, we do. We got a Goodfellas episode. My son and me and Woe Davis did an episode on Goodfellas a couple weeks ago. So you should check it out. It's good stuff.
All right.
Actually, my son Caleb calls the show.
No shit. I know Caleb come up on screen.
Yeah, Caleb is my
Caleb?
son. He's 23 years old, and he's called you for a while now.
Oh shit, yeah.
And he's always real soft-spoken. He's a good kid and everything like that. But that's my one son is Caleb. My other son
I'll
is
note
Jacob.
that. So
but
maybe
give
him a little nod and sneak him through. That's great.
So
That's
one
very
thing,
cool.
Brian was telling me you're like a Transformers guy.
Huge.
Too. So this weekend where I'm going camping is the Udvar Hazy Air and Space Museum Annex.
Where they shot Revenge of the Fallen.
Yes.
Yeah, where
with the old man SR-71
where Jetfire.
Black Bar. Yeah,
for that dog shit film.
That's what I said.
For the shittiest goddamn film
I said,
I've ever
go
seen.
easy on telling him that because I know he hates that.
I agree, but I just like the fact that we're going there because I haven't been there before and I remember it from
briefly tell you the strangest story of who I saw that movie with.
Okay.
And I need to reconnect because I've lost track of her. She was an old friend. I had a friend named John Muma whose wife was a New Kids on the Block fan, and they reunited.
Yeah.
And when they started going on tour again, John refused to go. He's like, you're going with her because I don't feel like going, and I know you're out of work, and keep her away from Donnie Wahlberg. I'm like, you got it. So I went with, and the night that we went and saw them in Cleveland, Ohio, was the night the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen was going to debut. And I go, okay, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to go to this fucking concert with you, but you have to go see the midnight screening of Transformers with me. So she bought VIP packages to go backstage to meet the new kid. She was pretty well off.
Deep in the game.
Deep in the game. She knew them. They knew her because they'd see her all the time. She was a real smoke show Vietnamese woman.
Right.
So it was just a bunch of these fucking fat land whales going back there to try and get their hands on, Donnie or Jerry or
Jordan,
Lippy or Curtis or whatever their names are. But they recognized her, and they would be like, cool, someone that I could possibly see myself bedding down.
Right.
And not some lady that, I've got to have, fucking PETA push back into the sea. And a lot of carbohydrate poisoning in that audience, as I like to say. And I go, hey, I got a funny idea. What if we just bought a bunch of tickets for them, and when you go back there, just give it to them as a joke. Like, hey, after the concert, me and my friend are going to go see the Transformers film. If you guys are pulling out of town, cool. But if not, we'll be at the Cineplex Odeon 8th.
Did they
the fuckers came.
New Kids?
I saw Transformers Revenge of the Fallen with my friend Amy, Donnie Wahlberg, Jordan, Joey, Jonathan wasn't there, and the guy that looks like a fucking gorilla wasn't there.
Danny or Donnie?
That's the one. Danny. But 3 of the 5 new kids and us 2 in a theater that their manager set aside for us at midnight. And I'm watching this film. She's about to slide out of her seat from fucking juiciness. Donnie and the rest of the new kids look bored out of their fucking mind. And all I'm thinking is, this movie sucks.
Dude, what a wild story. That's awesome.
Awful. And it won't end. And she's horny. They're mad they agreed to see this. I feel like I've wasted everybody's time.
Right.
And I kept trying to like lean over to whichever one of them was sitting there, like, so that's Starscream's brother. And in the original cartoon, he played an F-15, but in this one, they have him as a raptor. Because I'll shut up now. And she kept scooting back, and she's just over there, just trying not to bust onto the seat in front of her. And yeah, the movie was fucking horrible.
Wow, dude.
I'm so glad I asked.
That's such a great story. You saw. I'd have told that fucking story.
Did you also notice that in that
great
fucking that piece of shit continuity film? They went to the Air and Space Museum, and then they bust through a wall, and then they're in the Air Force graveyard in Arizona.
Right.
In the very next scene, behind, they just traveled 3 time zones to end up in a completely. That movie was bad. Do you know that Michael Bay and I think Kurtzman, the special effects director, wrote that in a hotel room because it was during a writer's strike? And Michael Bay was like, eat it from the back. This film's still happening.
Right.
I'll fucking write it myself. And that's what you get when you don't have a good writer.
Yeah.
He wrote the goddamn thing, and Kurtzman and some other people. But yeah, that makes sense. That was because I was like, the first one's fun.
Yeah.
And the second one was horrible.
I love the first one.
Yeah, the first one, it's fun.
I thought the third one I liked.
Third one had some moments.
You know,
was kind of fun. And Bumblebee was cool, and Transformers 1 was really cute. My kid liked that one. But
boy, that last night, man. Oh my God.
Age of Extinction sucked.
I didn't
Last
even
Night
see it.
sucked.
Bumblebee was solid.
Bumblebee.
It was solid.
Do you know I was yelled at in the 2006 screening of Transformers, the original, that during the blackout Bumblebee chase scene, which Sam Witwicky screams at Megan Fox, get in the fucking car. We got to get out of here. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh, shit, murder robot. For the first time in 20 years, that had been an Autobot taking on a Decepticon in a major release.
Right.
I fucking burst into tears. I fucking weep. I brought a toy with me.
Right.
I'm in my 30s.
Right.
I brought a fucking toy with me.
Right. It's 10 years ago.
I have a blackout helicopter toy. That was the big helicopter in the Sikorsky helicopter at the beginning of the first one.
Right.
And I stand up. I'm like, let's go. Let's fucking go. And like parents like, shut up, dude. Shut the fuck up. Oh, sorry. I couldn't handle it. I could not. I watched that scene once every 2 months.
Yeah.
And still get when they come bursting through that desert cloud of fog and smoke.
Right.
And he's screaming, go, go, go. And they're chasing, and they end up having a really hard to watch fight scene. Just for that few moments with that beat, and you're seeing an Autobot take on a Decepticon. I couldn't process it.
We can hover on that for a second. We grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, like how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
45.
All right, yeah, we're 48, 50-ish.
Yeah.
Wheels, 55 or something like that.
Yeah.
But we all grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
But I felt I wasn't a huge Transformers guy, but I almost got goddamn emotional.
That was my religion. That was my religion.
Because they did it good. Like, even though, like you said, it was a little hard to like.
The robot designs are very hard to follow.
Yes.
And they got a little too creative. You ever see any of the green screen capture of how they had the robots fight? They hired these 3 or 4 Wu Chung Kung Fu masters that do this like fucking unbelievable AEW looking Will Ospreay choreography where they're doing like complex crescent kicks and shit. And then you slap a complicated design, and I can't tell who the fuck is who.
Right.
They streamlined the designs eventually,
but
the fight scenes weren't great. But to hear Peter Cullen voice that character again.
Yes.
Okay, Bumblebee, the chattiest one, the Justin of the group, didn't have a voice, didn't make me happy.
Right, I'm sure.
Then you got Agent Smith to voice Megatron. Fuck you.
Right.
Okay, Frank Welker was alive, is alive.
What was their excuse there?
They wanted a name.
Yeah.
They wanted, who's the guy that played Smith from The Matrix?
Oh, what's his real name?
You said his name.
Hugh
Laurie.
No, not Hugh Laurie. That's House. Hugh Jackman got jacked off by a transsexual prostitute.
Vendetta,
It's Hugh. Burst Kinney was the villain for Mad Max.
Oh, my
Elron Hugh.
It's Hugh.
People listening to this right
Harrison.
now are fucking screaming
They
at
are.
the speakers.
Dickheads.
But please pull it up. My brain is short circuiting right now. Agent Smith.
I'm looking at the list. It's Hugh Jackman, Hugh Hefner,
No,
Hugh
Hefner.
Grant, Hugh Laurie. He's not on this fucking list.
Which one did you search? Just search Agent
V for
Smith.
Vendetta.
Agents. We're not moving.
I just put Hugh.
We're not moving. Hold on,
Yeah,
Mister. We're not. I have to. No. Hold on. The whoever wins gets sucked off by the other two.
God,
Hugo wins.
Hugo
wins.
wins.
I said it first.
It's
You want me to
not
blowjob?
even- it's
No,
not even-
I said it. I said it. I get sucked off.
I didn't agree to this.
It wasn't even Hugh.
There was no contract.
It was
These
Hugo.
balls drained here in the Empty Nuts Lounge.
Hey, actually, speaking of your nuts, weird segue. They got their tattoos. They got their balls tattooed on the air. Do you know
Absolute actual testicle tattoo?
Yeah, it's pretty
Yes,
bad.
sir.
You can go to YouTube and
So
search the
when-
video of it getting done. You don't see it, but you see my reaction.
that?
to it.
When, listen, one of the, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around now. One of the greatest little audio snippet thingies that you do,
Yeah.
okay, is one is when you reference your son and you do that. That is my favorite fucking thing. I don't know why, but that kills me. Is that audio from Pet Sematary?
No, it's my son that I slowed down by half.
Oh my God,
it's
that's
my
incredible.
it's my son
It's
laughing,
actually your son.
and I took the speed and I cut it in half. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to hear about your honor student. I don't give a fuck about your princess.
Right.
Like when anybody brags about their kid and how great they are, when they leave the room, no one's like, "Oh my God, how amazing is that kid? Can they bring him over here? I'd love to spend time with this little fucking idiot." No, you're like, Jesus Christ, I've met that kid. They're a fucking psychopath. They draw pictures of knives. Their favorite color's red. They tried to fuck the cat. Your kids are terrible. So I'm like, it's funnier to make fun and be like, yeah, this kid's a fucking idiot.
I agree.
Like, if you've ever met, I think we all have, and anybody at Inwood, are there any idiots there?
Oh yeah, baby.
Okay. Were they 5-year-old geniuses? No, they started fucking stupid and they stayed dumb or they got dumber.
Right.
So I think it's fun to be like, I'm going to play audio of my kid
It
sounding like
kills me.
Belial from Basket Case.
And he's always like, yeah, Justin, or what's Evan? He's like, Evan. He's like, ah. He's like, all right, buddy, all right.
No, like he's like some mutant kid you keep in the closet that you just throw up dead squirrels to keep him fed.
Oh my
Otherwise,
God.
he'll emerge through the drywall and eat Nana's lips. No, I don't
That
want to hear about
audio clip continue to do. The Chinese continue to do, and then the when you say whatever quip you say about, why would I be laughing? I got a needle in my nuts.
Yeah, I got a needle in my nut.
Like occasionally they'll play this quick
Sack.
clip, right?
Yeah, it's bad because he's digging
crazy.
a tattoo needle into my fucking walnuts.
Live
and
on air, dude.
my brain, the needle was literally skipping. I just was in the middle of trying to say nutsack, and they did some sort of Steven Seagal pressure point on my walnuts, and my mind just went, no. And then he pulls the
That's
needle out, and my
insane.
mouth went
That's
sack
nuts.
and could finish it.
Dude, it's
Awful. It
unbelievable.
feels
Well, that's
exactly
like, remember
what-
Psycho in Florida?
Yeah,
Tattooed the Spawn emblem on the head of his own dick.
Yeah, listen, so dig this, Justin. You might not realize, but we have some ghetto tattoos here. This tattoo was done, this and this was all done by a guy named Psycho.
In a living room chair.
No shit.
In a
an
living
apartment
room
in
in
Winter Park,
Florida.
Florida.
on a flatbed truck that was
Yeah.
moving during a fucking windstorm.
Psycho was doing work for very low cost.
Oh,
And was,
look at that.
listen,
What is that?
that was
It's him.
going to be me. He was
That
going
ain't
to
you.
color that into tie-dye. It looks like Kurt Cobain,
That looks
right?
like an unburnt Freddy Krueger.
It looks like Kurt Cobain,
That
right?
looks like I'm fucking kids, but I haven't been set on fire by the parents yet.
So look, this is
What are
from
you holding?
the Earth.
The fuck you are?
That's
That is
right. That's
you're
what I'm saying.
holding my tattooed nut.
So listen.
You've got claws. You
Yep.
look like you haunt children's dreams to make up for the crimes of their parents.
So dig this. Look. Dr. Teeth, right? So dig this. This guy's name was Psycho.
Okay.
He got the needles delivered via UPS, right? No joke.
Yeah.
And he had a girl, a young, shout out Spiegel, young Jewish girl
Okay.
that ran away from home with him. He was known as the Highlander up north and Psycho down south.
Yeah.
And he stayed on a friend of ours' couch for a couple weeks with this girl,
Hate that.
Jewish girl who had a tattoo of the Star of David dripping blood upside down on her chest.
Yeah.
How old was she? And how old was he?
19
I mean, we were
Of
in our
age?
of age.
early
Okay.
20s at the
We were
time.
in the early
yeah,
20s.
I just hear
yes.
young runaway girl.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm
We
like,
were wild,
who's
Justin.
the
We had
highest
wild
bidder?
times,
Yeah,
but-
there's wild. Then there's like
Right.
strange human
yeah.
trafficking.
Oh,
Well, this was a murder. He almost
Psycho
got murdered.
may
Yeah.
have been fed to alligators eventually.
All right,
Right.
I'll share a shitty tattoo with you. Okay, so we used to do a thing called the home invasion where we
Right.
would get I would get a tattoo done on me every year. When I found out I was having Evan, he was the size of a blueberry. I got blueberries tattooed on me, whatever. But this was the first one. Okay, now I got JSS tattooed on my wrist, so I have to work there for fucking ever. And I said, I want the Baltimore City skyline.
Yep.
Like 5 years ago, someone comes up to me and is like, "Ah, cool. You been to Chicago?" That's fucking Chicago, dude. The guy that did this pulled the wrong stencil. That's the fucking Sears Tower.
Well,
that is Chicago, dude.
I mean, there's the Baltimore City skyline. You can see it in the back of the logo.
That ain't it. That is the fucking. I guess they got a big slanted building the way that we do, but nope.
Chi-town.
That is goddamn Chicago. Right. I love deep dish, Scott and Spiegel.
That's amazing.
Fucking idiot.
The Wire and the Chi.
Great.
That's awesome.
Stoked. Yeah. You know how many times I've been to Chicago? 0 times. Stoked. I've got a city I've never gone to except for a layover.
Tattooed on your wrist
on me
with your radio,
with
your Baltimore radio.
My Baltimore, such dumb fucking Waldorf swamp scum cousin kissing piece of GED.
That's amazing.
Slop shit. I would love to burn this off of me like someone that's getting kicked out of the Sons of Anarchy.
That's fucking
cut off the colors if you leave the crew. Yeah, I can't wait to try and cover this goddamn thing up when they flip us to smooth jazz one day. This is gonna, that's got to become something. So
do you tell Scott this is a fish tattoo, and tell Scott that
you're
we're
amongst
not psychopaths.
Friends. You're amongst friends.
Yeah, like, because I know, like I said, he's probably a little bit leery about coming out.
No, when you drive out here, you think you've glitched out of an Elder Scrolls map. You'd be like, the game glitched. This is fun. I'm driving beneath the map right now.
Yeah.
This is cool. I have no idea. My character's doing the T-pose, floating around. It's not working.
Yeah, we have a band coming in here Tuesday the 18th at 8 p.m. So we're going to have to put like spotlights out there, like the fucking dealership.
Just have a big 55-gallon drum fire, a couple of hobos heating some beans over it.
When is your special going to be released?
November 30th is the taping, 6:30, 9:30, Justin98 Rock on Instagram. Give me a follow for that. And the special is going to be released right now. I'm just going to say tentatively midway through January.
It's going
to be on YouTube. It's self-published, self-paid for, self-everything. No, there's zero interest from anyone for this. So this is something I'm putting out myself that hopefully will drum up interest down the line.
Yeah, we'll blast it out there.
Can I tell you what I'm really interested in?
Anything.
Using your fucking bathroom right now, because I just rocked that bottle of water up.
Absolutely. Well, look,
one last
it's
thing.
A real honor.
Just to jump back to Transformers real quick, I meant to say this, and we got sidetracked. Peter Cullen, he's the voice of the Predator also.
Oh, yeah? Oh, no. I have so much shit signed by him.
The clicking sound.
Yeah.
That's Peter Cullen.
Much shit.
Optimus Prime.
Justin's going to piss himself, so we're going to end this early. It's a real honor to meet you, man.
It's a pleasure, man. Thank you guys for having me on the Sanity Lounge.
Thank you.
Stay sane, Baltimore.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening, Baltimore. You can find us at www.sanitylounge.com or on Instagram at sanity.lounge.
Keep listening and subscribe.
Stay sane, Baltimore.